This is not the way. Okay? Own up to what I said last time without taking back anything I said. Without taking back even one word I said or saying that anything that I said was untrue. This is not the way. Okay? Biden got some ideas in his head, thought this was a great idea. I don't know where his mind is at, because Biden did wrong. He did wrong, and this is not the way. This is not the way to bring in new Americans. This is not the way to bolster our population or to bring in new Americans into America. This is not the way. This is not the way to abandon Afghanistan to its enemies. The enemy within, the Taliban. To abandon Afghanistan to the Taliban and abandon all of our allies that were happy in their homeland and wanted to live in their homeland and wanted to maintain their homeland. Okay? They wanted their country. They wanted their country, and we basically stopped defending them and let the Taliban take over their country. So now they have to leave their country for America. And they would have preferred, I think most of them would have preferred to have stayed in Afghanistan. I'm sure most of them would have preferred to stay in Afghanistan. I'm sure most of them would have preferred to stay rooted in their homeland. Their homeland was important to them, and maintaining their homeland was important to them. Now that the Taliban's taken over, there's going to be women back in burqas again. The women will be right back in their burqas. And there's two people responsible for what happened. Biden and Trump. Trump likes the Taliban. In fact, recently he complimented the Taliban. And Trump promised the Taliban he would get out of Afghanistan and turn Afghanistan back over to the Taliban. He doesn't care if women are in burqas. The only thing Trump respects, he doesn't respect any morality. He doesn't respect any rule of law. All he respects is strength. That's all he respects, and that's the only thing he admires is strength. He doesn't admire morality or integrity. If someone is weak, he doesn't admire them if they're weak. It doesn't matter how moral they are or how righteous they are. He doesn't care. He doesn't care as long as they're strong. He doesn't like the weak. So Trump promised the Taliban that he would get out of Afghanistan by such and such a date. And Biden decided to go along with Trump and keep Trump's promise to the Taliban. Biden decided to keep Trump's promise to the Taliban and get out of Afghanistan. Now, I understand that we lost some troops in Afghanistan. I understand that. And I understand that it was a 20-year war and it was a failing war, and that we were never going to get out of Afghanistan. That was going to be permanent fixture of our country as our occupation of Afghanistan, and that we were never going to get out of there. But I'll tell you something. Now that the Taliban's taken over again, ISIS is going to come right back. They're going to hide out in Afghanistan and make attacks on America from Afghanistan. Our enemies haven't gone away, and they haven't changed at all. So Biden's decision to get out of Afghanistan was a fatal flaw. It was a fatal error, and he's not going to win re-election. He's not going to win re-election because everyone hates him for getting out of Afghanistan and taking a risk, abandoning us to our enemies and abandoning Afghanistan to its enemies, to the Taliban, and making our allies, putting our allies in Afghanistan at risk, putting thousands of lives in danger. Taliban is trying to keep Afghanis in Afghanistan, and then they're going to retaliate, kill anybody who helped the Americans once we're gone. Once we're gone, they're going to kill. They're going to kill anybody who helped the Americans. But what they did, they issued I don't know if you call it a fatwa or whatever it is, or fatwa, maybe it's a fatwa. They issued a statement, the Taliban did, saying that any women who went outside would be shot, and that their soldiers weren't trained to respect women. Their soldiers weren't trained to respect women, so they better stay indoors. They better stay inside and not go anywhere. Because if they don't stay inside and stay indoors and not go anywhere, they're sure to be shot by these soldiers that haven't been trained to respect women. Well, what did their mothers train them? Didn't their mothers or their fathers ever teach them to respect women? Of course, that's supposed to start at age 3. You're supposed to learn to respect women at 3 years old, or even younger. When you're a 2-year-old, you can respect women. You learn not to hit your mother's boobies, and at age 2, yeah, these soldiers haven't been trained to respect women. They don't need to be trained. They should respect women automatically. Give me a break. These cowardly acts. They bombed the Kabul airport. And I'm sure you've seen the images of the baby being lifted over the wall with the barbed wire, topped with barbed wire. The baby was lifted over the wall, topped with barbed wire. The baby was later reunited with its father. There was a stampede when there was an active shooter. There's an active shooter at the airport, and 7 people were killed, including a child got trampled to death. Or people trampled to death by the stampede. And they finally took out the active shooter, but this is awful. They're shooting people on the way to the airport. The Taliban is gunning for people on their way to the airport, and nobody's safety can be assured. There's Americans in Afghanistan, thousands of them, and they're never going to get out. There's like 1,500 Americans that are trapped there that are never going to get out of Afghanistan. And they have a self-imposed, the federal government has a self-imposed deadline to get out of Afghanistan, which is August 31st. They didn't have to do that. They didn't have to promise to get out by August 31st, and now the Taliban is enforcing it and saying, you better be out by August 31st or we're going to retaliate. We're going to get you. And the Taliban was greatly outnumbered, and they conquered the sitting government because the sitting government was weak. It was weak, and the Taliban was able to take over real easy, no problem. The Taliban just swooped in. And took over real easy, even though they were greatly outnumbered and outgunned. And the soldiers were such cowards that were posted. They were abandoning their weapons that had been given to them by the U.S. military. They had weapons from the U.S. military. Oh yeah, they're abandoning their guns, and the Taliban took them. So now the Taliban has a bunch of U.S. weapons. This was a disaster, a complete disaster from beginning to end. Biden was sure that they would be able to maintain their government by themselves without our help, and that they would be just fine without us. They weren't just fine without us. They were weak. And they were cowards. The Taliban was much bolder. They felt that the Taliban feels they have God on their side. Apparently these others don't feel they have God on their side because they don't feel bold enough to fight back. They don't feel bold enough to fight back like I was taught in Christian school. Be bold as a lion. That's what they teach Christians. They teach them to be bold as a lion because they have God on their side. Well, these Taliban felt they had God on their side, and they were as bold as lions, even though they don't have God on their side, because a good God would deplore women being put in burqas, and would deplore the oppressive regime that the Taliban enacted before, and that the Taliban will enact now. Repressive regime. The Taliban is so bad. Americans who will never get out, will never get back to safety in America. There's going to be Americans trapped there, POWs, Americans trapped, and there's going to be allies that are murdered in cold blood. They'll just go door to door and gun them down, and all the women will be back in burqas before you know it. What Biden did was wrong. And there's all of these people are coming to America. They wish they were in their homeland. Oh yeah, they wish they were in their homeland. They're saying, oh, sunshine and roses. We interviewed this person. It's a anecdotal incident. Anecdotal. And this anecdotal person said, we're so happy to be in America. We love America. We've always wanted to be in America. We're so happy to be here. We can hardly wait to become Americans. That's the story that the New York Times and their ilk are putting out in support of their favorite person, Biden. They're not even journalists anymore. And meanwhile, the vast majority feel betrayed and wish that we hadn't gotten out of Afghanistan, and wish that Biden hadn't done this withdrawal from Afghanistan, wish they were still in their homeland and still had their homeland. Now their homeland has been abandoned to a very small minority that were just bold as lions, and that's the Taliban, and they took over. They're bold as lions, but they're also bad. They're also bad, and they're worse than lions. Because lions may eat meat, but the Taliban eats up the soul. So they made a grave error in judgment. Biden made a grave error in judgment. Trump made a grave error, but he doesn't see it as an error in judgment because he's bad and bold himself. He doesn't mind being bad, and he doesn't mind being bold. So Trump and Biden are both in the doghouse. But will Trump take any of the blame? No, even though he did this. No, Trump won't take any of the blame. He'll come off smelling like a bed of roses, and all the blame will go on Biden, which is well deserved because he completed the action of turning over Afghanistan to the Taliban. So it's a bunch of people who are disenfranchised, taken away from their homeland, ripped out of the bosom of their homeland, and plunked right down in America, right down in Wisconsin. Right down in Wisconsin. They're in America now, and they can never return to their homeland. They can never go back. They can never take it back, and they can never reestablish themselves in their homeland because the Taliban's taken over. And the women are right back in their burqas and being fired upon by Taliban soldiers on their way to the airport and can't get out. They can't escape unless they want to risk their lives. And I can see why many of them would want to risk their lives. Who wants to live under the Taliban? Who wants to be whipped to death or stoned to death? Would be better to be shot, nice and clean, and be done with this Taliban for good. Unless you don't believe in life after death. If you don't believe in life after death, then you'd be scared to take on the Taliban because you think it would be all over and that you wouldn't be able to live your life at all. But what kind of a life is it? Wouldn't oblivion be better than living under the Taliban? Oh boy. If we didn't have POWs there, that were at risk of their lives, and if we didn't have Americans that had been abandoned and left behind, I can easily see the nuclear option. I can easily see it. Just nuke the Taliban. Nuke them. Seriously. Just, the Taliban are that bad. They're so bad. They just deserve to be nuked. Get rid of the Taliban all at once. They are so, so evil. They are so evil, and they are so wicked. And they're so bad. They actually deserve to be nuked. And you know what China's doing? China is giving weapons to the Taliban. Yes, they're giving China is our enemy. China has been our enemy, and China always will be our enemy. China is taking their money that they got from Americans for their goods and services, mostly goods, and giving it to the Taliban so they can fight their war against us. China's giving weapons to our enemy and aiding and abetting our enemy. Why should we give them even one more day of our business, these Chinese? Why should we allow them to take over the world? Why? Why are we letting them take over? We should get rid of all of our regimes that are opposed to us. We should overthrow them. We should topple them. We should topple all of these regimes. Because they're always going to be enemies of America, and they're always going to fight against America, and there will be more 9/11s. Be more buildings collapsing. They're always going to do these things. Our enemies. We shouldn't give them any quarter or any refuge. We should seek them out and destroy our enemies. And it's just, and you know, like you read the Bible, it says love your enemies and bless those who curse you. Give me a break. These people don't care. They don't care about the Bible, and they don't care about Jesus. They don't care about your religion. I say that we seek out and destroy our enemies instead of blessing them and loving our enemies. We shouldn't love our enemies, because our enemies will destroy us in the end. Our job being alive is to survive. That's our only task. The only task that's been assigned to us, being alive, is to survive. That's our job. Our job is to survive. And if we don't survive, then we're suicidal. Loving our enemies is a suicidal act. Yeah, it's suicide. It's self-murder to love your enemies. You're supposed to try to survive. And they're going to eat you up. They're going to eat you alive. The Taliban is going to eat you alive. China's sending them weapons. China is sending them weapons. And Biden is bowing in to the Taliban. He bowed in. He's not going to win re-election. He bowed to the Taliban, and he caused thousands and thousands of, tens of thousands of people to be displaced from their homes. He's never going to be forgiven for what he's done. This is not the way to get new Americans. There's new Americans who want to come from all parts of the world. Yes, there's some that want to come from Afghanistan, not all. Now they're being forced to flee their homes because of us withdrawing. We should have stayed there. But there's people in Mexico, there's people in South America and Central America, there's people in the Far East. Yes, there's people in China that would like to come here, and I'm sure if they were fully vetted, they would make great Americans. They should be fully vetted, and we should allow some Chinese to come here, to flee their homeland if they don't like it there. We should allow people from all over the world that want to be Americans, not people who are being forced to flee their homes because we invaded their country in the first place, and now they helped us, and now they're in danger of their lives because of us. Because of us. We had a responsibility to maintain Afghanistan And Trump was saying, oh, this is costing us so much money. Oh, the Taliban is great. I love the Taliban. Let's get out of there and give it to the Taliban. And we did. And Biden followed through and kept Trump's promises. Biden kept Trump's promises, and now Biden will be blamed. But they're both to blame. Neither one of them is any good. And it's going to be Biden versus Trump again. Why do we keep choosing the same failed people and the same failed leaders over and over and over again? Because people are suckers. People are just total suckers. I want to tell you a story very briefly. Friend of mine had something terrible happen to her. She's been crying all week long. She's so sad. She has to change her major. And she can't live her dream. Everything she's been working toward for years. She's been working toward this degree for years. And she's been working so hard, and everything she worked for is dashed just because she refused to get a vaccine. She refused the COVID-19 vaccine, and they kicked her out of her program. They kicked her out of the program, and they kicked her out, and they won't allow her to complete her social work degree. And she was so upset. And I was upset for her too. I may not think that avoiding the vaccine is the wisest decision or the best decision, or maybe she should have just sucked it up and gotten the vaccine so she could continue her major. But I'm not going to judge her. I'm not going to judge her, and I'm not going to blame her. What they did to her was so wrong. What they did to her was so wrong. They went against her free will choice. And it's her body. It's her body, so it should be her free will choice. It's too bad if it hurts others. It's her body, and it's her free will choice. She has to do what's right for her and what she feels is right for her body, regardless of the science and what science tells you. Because science doesn't always tell you the whole story. They want people to get vaccinated so badly that they're willing to let anyone live with the side effects and the consequences, whatever those may be. And they're silencing people who are having side effects. I had a side effect from the COVID vaccine. I had a lump in my neck. I had a lump in my neck, and it lasted for 2 months. For 2 months I had a lump in my neck and wondered if it was cancer. It happened right after I got the vaccine. About a couple weeks after I got the vaccine, the lump appeared. And another thing happened to me, got a pain in the ass. Yes, the COVID vaccine was a pain in the ass. I've had pain in my ass starting a week after I got the vaccine and lasting until the present day. I still have a pain in my ass. It's hard for me to even sit still for you guys to give you this video because of the pain in my ass. And I can't eat any more wheat. Can't eat wheat ever again because it causes pain in my ass. And any allergen now causes pain in my ass. That's the new reaction I'm having, is pain in my ass whenever I have a allergen. So think about this. Just think about this. COVID vaccine, that might not seem like a very bad side effect. Okay, because the lump eventually went away. And all I have to do is avoid my allergens. But who wants to live without wheat? Wheat is in everything. Wheat is ubiquitous. Wheat is everywhere. Everywhere. It's in everything, and it's everywhere. Just think about life without wheat, just because of a COVID vaccine. And when I get the booster, who knows what I'll become allergic to next. So, I just want you to think about this, that I know that's an anecdote. I know that's an anecdote, and I'm just one person, but it can happen. I'm saying it can happen. You can have side effects from the COVID vaccine. And so my friend has to make the best choice for herself and her body. It really isn't anyone else's business. Okay? And saying, oh, well, she'll be infectious and she'll give it to other people. No, no, she doesn't. She wears masks. She avoids contact with the public. She isn't going to give it to anybody. And it's wrong. It's wrong to force her to put something in her body that could potentially harm her. It's her choice. It should be her choice because it's her body. Too bad. Too bad for everyone else. It's her body. It's her choice. And they should not have done this to her. They should not have ruined her career and taken away her major and taken away her hopes and dreams of being a social worker just so that they could ram a vaccine down her throat, which she refused, and she wouldn't allow it. She would rather not even get her major rather than allow it. So that's it. I want you to think about what Biden has done to my friend, to the Afghanis that were loyal to us, how we abandoned them and abandoned their country to the Taliban. I want you to think about how wrong this is. Yes, we need new Americans, but there's certain things you just don't do for money. You've got to have your honor, and this was the most dishonorable act ever, was abandoning Afghanistan to its enemies. So I want you to think about that. I want you to think about Biden. Decide whether it's worth your while to vote him out of office after all that he's done.